ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jon Gray, and I'm sitting on the Grassroots set. Tom Corrington's out of town, and I'm going to do a segment here called Local Shades of Gray. And because there's so many things that go on in our society that are toned and treated in so many different perspectives, that they go everything from bright white all the way to black, and they're all the different colors in between. And back here, if you look behind me, you'll see right there, well, let's look beside me first. There's Rebecca French, my friend Rebecca French right there, and she is the manager of the Coffee County Conference Center. Correct. Proper title?
Yep, General Manager. General Manager.
And I didn't want to show her first, but we did, because there's always an elephant in the room, folks. Now, no matter where you are, either if you're with friends, if you're at church, if you're at a party, the way society is right now and the way politics are, no matter who you're talking to, there's always some kind of divisive thing in between people. And after a newspaper article several weeks ago about the conference center and the Coffee County Conference Center and Rebecca, I wanted to have her come and let me interview her and ask some of the questions that I want to ask to get answers that weren't revealed in the newspaper. And I know that things get reported the way they're reported, but it's kind of hard for me to believe that something can happen in that big of an environment and nothing good ever happened there. So what we're going to do today is talk about some of the things at the Coffee County Conference Center that do happen, that are good, and maybe things aren't quite as bad as everybody thinks. And I think that the management style of Rebecca French and her board, who is behind her now, can fix this problem. So what we're going to do is get into the issues of the Coffee County Conference Center with Rebecca and find out a few facts that maybe you folks hadn't been allowed to hear. And I say allowed to hear because some things sort of get pushed to the side to make the story sound a certain way. And Rebecca, thank you for being here with me today. And I remember, let's see, how old is the conference center?
It was built in 2001.
2001, so it's been there 17 years.
Correct.
17 years. And then it was built as an addition to the county, as a public facility to help bring activities to the county, well, right?
It was built for multiple of reasons. It was built to leverage, the Public Building Authority was enacted to leverage bonds for communities in Middle Tennessee region and beyond. So they could leverage bonds for infrastructure projects, schools, utility, water, any of that stuff to further develop another community. That's why the PBA was enacted, and part of their job was to build and manage and oversee the operations day to day of the conference center.
Of the conference center.
And the conference center was built to generate economic impact, and it was also put there to support industry growth in Coffee County and to support business growth. So that's in their mission statement and their founding charter.
And now, from the very beginning, was the conference center built with anticipation of it making a big profit?
It depends on who you ask. The documents that were turned in as part of a selling point suggested that after 25 years, 10 to 25 years, there was going to be a significant profit to be made if they followed the chain of events on that paper. And then to hear numerous founding board members and numerous elected officials and those in between, they say the conference center was built without the expectation of whatever was written on that paper to be true, that they knew that they were investing in their community to see a brighter future economically for the entire community, and that's why it was put there. That they knew that some of the paperwork that was handed to them was misrepresented or misleading, it was fluffed, and that they built it knowing that they were leveraging future tax dollars to help pay for that building.
Okay, so when did you take over management of the center?
I started in August of 2015, and I started managing in December of 2015. And I was an interim manager for 6 months, probationary period, and then after that 6 months, I've been there ever since.
Okay, so it's about 4 years?
Yeah.
About 4 years. Well, I remember back when you first, I guess it was when you were first in the managing position, because I came over there as a news reporter to a lunch, and you were making a report
Right.
on some situations of why things are the way they were. At that point, I understood that it was expected to lose X amount of dollars every year.
Correct.
The county, the city, both cities and the county understand, because both cities and the county are involved in this.
Yes. They
Understand that it's going to lose X amount of dollars, and X amount of dollars is okay by whoever decides that, because of the impact, economic impact it makes on the community.
Right. And the debate that I hear lately is how much should that how much should that investment from the city and the county be to fund the center? There's a large variance on whether or not people think it should cost the low amount of $50,000 up to $300,000. There's a large debate on, what amount is enough or what amount is too much. So everyone sitting at the table acknowledged that there is going to have to be money from all entities, but what is the number that we're comfortable giving?
Right. Well, and I, in some interviews we had here with the mayor candidates before this last election, it seems to me, and I've made this statement to you, 17, 18, 20, 25, 30 years ago, a lot of things happened in Coffee County and in Tullahoma and Manchester. The Fly, the arts, not the Fly, the Mac, Fly's in Shelbyville, but it was probably the same thing there.
Right.
The Tullahoma Arts Center over here, the South Jackson Civic Center, the Science Center, all of this stuff got started by people who had a vision for better things.
Right. The rec centers, both of our amazing rec centers were part of that vision. Yeah.
But they were started by volunteers, and who sort of in a club type atmosphere. Let's go do this, and hey, let's go build a wall tonight. You bring barbecue and I'll bring the beans.
Yes.
Well, this is 30 years later, 20 years later, and society has changed. We, as a tax-paying base, can't afford to have these places operate like a club anymore. They need to operate like a business. And I know there's a lot of times that favors have been given. One of the things that interests me is the price disparity.
Right.
There's been a long time over there when somebody goes over there and pays one price for something, somebody else goes and gets another price. The school gets a price, a nonprofit gets a price. And because the price is not the right price, we're losing a bunch of money, right?
It depends on if you feel it is a loss. If it is a private payer, they should all pay the same price. That covers the cost of operations and food and everything that
plus a profit.
Right, plus a profit. Everything that involves their event. But if it's a nonprofit or a school, there's a debate, or an industry like industrial board, there's a debate on whether or not their economic impact or the impact that having our school children have, whether they should pay full price or if we're taking from the schools in order to let them have an event there when we're a public building when we're already open. So there is definitely no debate that all of those discounts and favors that were done in the past, those were definitely eliminated. But the debate now is, should our school systems, should our industries, industrial board chambers be able to use the building at a discount because that's what the public building was originally founded on.
Right, and if it gets to the point to where everybody's acceptable with the amount of money that it might be losing, and those things are within those bounds, that's fine.
Right.
But if they say, okay, we don't mind losing $100,000, but we're losing $300,000, and the schools, the way I see it is if this place goes away, and the schools and the industries and whoever need to have a meeting, they're going to have to pay a hotel or somebody full price. They're not going to get a discount.
Right.
Because they're a nonprofit,
yeah.
or they're their school system. So it's like pay me now or pay me later.
Right. And the other part of it is that, I mean, everyone considers the conference center a loss, a loss, a loss. And that's not the verbiage that I think that it should be. It is an investment in your community that has a measurable return on investment every quarter. So it is not an immediate investment, but every quarter and every year when the state gives out their reports and sales tax dollars come in every quarter, there's a profound amount of money that we can measurably say the conference center generated that money, and without it being there or without those people coming to town, that money would not be there. So I prefer to stop calling it a loss and say that we are investing in our own community for the growth of our community for the future.
But have you been able to, has that been printed or regurgitated anywhere else?
No.
How many times, because of events you've had at the conference center over the past four years,
right,
has that hotel or the two hotels next to you been full because of stuff that you're holding at the conference center?
Well, we book out the hotel several times. In 2015, we booked over 5,000 hotel rooms that year, and that was a conservative estimate. Last year, we booked out over 4,000 hotel rooms. We had significantly less events with higher gross sales, and we booked the hotel out several times and brought people from outside of our community, which is that's
the deal.
That's what we want to bring in here. Yeah. You know, we want our local nonprofits and we want our local organizations to utilize that building, but we want to draw as much from outside of our community as possible. So last year we did over 4,000 hotel rooms, so that tells you how often we're booking out hotel rooms.
So has that been reported anywhere?
I don't believe so, no.
So why not, do you think?
Well,
and I don't want to put you on the spot here because, you know, we can put you on a spot to where I don't want to jeopardize what you're doing, because I was impressed the first time I went over there and heard you speak to the board about some things that needed to be done to stop the bleeding, like leasing tablecloths and towels and napkins and stuff. And so she goes and buys, what, 4 sets of laundry and a washer and dryer, and it's already paid for itself.
And we do all the laundry in-house now.
Right.
Yes, because we had a $33,000 a year laundry bill, and that's not sustainable.
No.
So we created.
You can buy a lot of stuff for $33,000 and get a bunch of Downy.
Yeah, and spend a lot of time washing and still not spend $33,000.
Right. So. And another thing that I remember that day was the amount of money that had been spent for sound equipment was somewhere around $25,000-$30,000, but the amount of money that had been billed for sound equipment rental was about $3,000.
Yeah, every year before I was there, there was always a loss in renting sound equipment. So we eliminated that first thing with the board support. They gave me a set amount of dollars to spend on purchasing our own, and after 3 months, that equipment was paid for, and ever since then, we've been able to rent that and make a profit. Yeah.
So, with your ideas and the support and help from your board, you've taken in those 2 specific areas an area of loss and turned it into a profit generating area.
Correct, yes. And we're resourceful in numerous ways there. All the time, but that's not showcased. And I think the reason why, to get back to that question, the reason why it's not reported or it's not discussed regularly is because the narrative is dividing our community. And so as long as that narrative is being pushed in all 24 articles that have been written about me since I became the general manager of the conference center.
There have been 24 articles written about you?
About me, my
4
management,
years?
the conference center, yes. So I think that
says something in itself.
And that
you've sustained 24 articles being written about you. Well, congratulations.
I love our community, and that's the passion that I have. And I have 4 boys, and I want them to want to come back home and live. And so for me to see Coffee County grow as a place that you want to live, work, and play is very important for my children to come back home to mama instead of going out into the world and not coming home. So that's a personal motivator for me to make our community better.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else was something else I wanted to question you about? maintenance. How's the people talk about how much money you're spending,
Right.
but nobody says, well, X amount of these dollars that's being spent at the conference center is maintenance money.
Yeah. So that is true. When our numbers are reported at Budget and Finance, that number includes operations, maintenance, and depreciation. I believe we're one of the only county buildings that do our maintenance ourselves, and it's not in the general budget, it's in our own budget. And depreciation is a set amount that was set in 2007, 2008, that is to go in case something capital expense breaks and we have the money to replace it. So when you hear the numbers that are reported, you're getting three numbers, not just an operational number. And maintenance has been higher the last 3 years because the building has not been maintained at an industry standard or a professional level in the last 10 years. So we're cleaning up a lot. And additionally, when the building was built, there was approximately $250,000 in deficiencies on a punch list that were never corrected from the original build. And so as some of these things are exposed, like wires not being grounded or wires that are not in conduit, those things have to be corrected. We can't just ignore those for public safety, for the
so
safety.
So there was still, wait a minute,
yeah.
$250,000 worth of things that were not done at the original build that were on the punch list.
Correct, yes.
That were never fixed.
Right, and there was a lawsuit over it with the company, and they settled, but they never.
But it was never fixed.
It was never retroactively fixed. No.
So now, part of the reason that you're over budget to a certain extent is because during your management time, you realize that is a huge problem, and so you're taking it on now to fix these things that should have been fixed 10, 15 years ago.
Correct.
And
yes.
and it's not free.
No, and we try to bid out everything and make sure that we're paying the best prices possible, but sometimes we don't have that option when it's an emergency or when it's a matter of safety and you have events coming in. You have to get it done quickly and correctly, and so we can't just put a Band-Aid over it or try to fix it ourselves. That's dangerous. So we've been fixing a lot of issues like that above and beyond our normal day-to-day maintenance.
Right, right. Now, I mean, has any of that been reported anywhere?
I don't think so. I did sit down with reporting agencies and give them 500 documents supporting that, and I've never seen anything.
You've never seen it in the news or heard it on the radio or?
No.
Oh, you? Okay. The next thing on my list is maintenance expense. How are your relationships with the three different? Because this is the county conference center, but because it's county dollars that this deals with, it also has to deal with Tullahoma to a certain extent,
right.
and Manchester City. So you as a manager have to deal with three different agencies.
Correct, and I don't interact as much with Tullahoma, but I do give them any information that that they definitely should be privy to. And then if there's any requests from Tullahoma, I definitely give that information out. But I deal primarily with the county and the city, and working together sometimes can be difficult, especially when you have a matter of a difference of opinion or you have a personal agenda involved or any of that. That definitely changes the climate that you're able to work together in. What was the question, though? I apologize.
No, I mean, just is there a difference in relationship between the city governments and the county government as far as what you're attempting and trying to do at the conference center?
Well, there's a significant relationship difference. I would say that. I'm hoping that with the change of the election and some of our elected officials getting acclimated and asking for information and educating themselves on what the entire purpose and the whole picture is of the conference center, some of those relationships will change. But the city, they seem to understand what we're doing, and they understand the economics to it, and that's important. We can look at a bottom line all day, and we can discuss, how much that bottom line should actually cost somebody, but the economics to the lodging tax we bring in, the sales tax dollars, just the general foot traffic in our restaurants and, small businesses when people come to town, the city understands, and if they don't, they always ask me questions. I have a really good working relationship with the street department and the water department, so when we have projects that would normally cost a lot of money, the street and the water department have come over and helped us, and it reduces costs significantly. And they've done that before this became a public interest topic. They've done that because it's the right thing to do for our community, and we really appreciate, especially the street department. They've helped us a lot on the outdoor area that I got the grant for. They just were instrumental in keeping the costs down. So the county, we have a lot of work to do to rebuild relationships and make sure that everybody knows what the importance is of the conference center and what would happen if it's not there anymore. What would happen if we make decisions that were to negatively impact all of Coffee County? Because, I mean, the state's report came out 2-3 weeks ago, and last year tourism in Coffee County, taxpayers paid $325 less per taxpayer in taxes due to tourism. Not just the conference center, but tourism,
right,
which is the second largest industry, the second largest employer in the state. It's hospitality and tourism. So this year's report came out and said Coffee County taxpayers paid $363 less in taxes because of hospitality and tourism. And the conference center is one of the 5 major generators of hospitality and tourism in Coffee County. So to take one of those out would significantly impact the entire county, not just the city of Manchester, but all of us. And I would think that we would lose our spot. We're 21st out of the state. Out of our 95 counties, we're 21st, and we've kept that position for the last 2 years. And we hope to see it, like to be 20. 19,
yeah.
But it takes a lot of vision and a lot of working together to get there, and that's what I hope to see out of this election cycle, and the people that are getting acclimated to their offices, that we come together and we have professional dialogue, that we can listen and give feedback and maybe not always agree, but find common ground that benefits the entire community.
Okay, well, what we're going to do right now is we're going to regroup just a little bit, and we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with some more with Rebecca French, General Manager of the Coffee County Conference Center.
Ah, the glory days. Running to daylight on the gridiron, and chasing a ball with a mind of its own. Cheering the team to victory, and marching to the beat of your own drum. Memories that last a lifetime. But sometimes we're reminded of our glory days in ways we'd rather forget. Get back in the game.
The rehab team at Life Care Center of Tullahoma is ready to help you live and play well.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
We're back, folks, and I'm Jon Gray doing a special edition of Grassroots while Tom's out of town, and it is with my friend Miss Rebecca French, the General Manager of Coffee County Conference Center, and we've been having a discussion about why the conference center is in the financial shape it's in and the physical shape it's in, how it's been a contingent point of conversation for years and years and years, and we have a young lady here who's trying to solve the problems, but the reporting about the things that she's accomplished and the things that she's trying to accomplish just hadn't shown up anywhere. I hadn't seen it in the newspaper. I hadn't heard it on the radio, and so I wanted to make sure that this young lady, who is an employee of our county, you're a department head.
I am
a department head of the Coffee County, and she gets an opportunity to tell you, the citizens, some other things that are happening there and why they're happening and how they're happening that you haven't been allowed to hear before now.
I appreciate
so is that sort of a good way to put it?
Absolutely. I think that's a good introduction to.
Okay, so what we've talked a little bit about maintenance. We've talked a little bit about who rents and how much they pay to rent and how that needs to all be parodied. We've talked about running the place like a business instead of like a club. One of the things I saw in the article in the newspaper was the fact that there was complaint about just way too many administrative hours. Now, you've explained to us that the accounting is in 3 different departments. It's in the administrative or the running of the place. It's in the maintenance of the place, and it's in the, what was the other one? Depreciation expense. So there's nothing you can do about the depreciation expense. No. There's nothing you can do about the maintenance. Matter of fact, you're having to pull maintenance that should have been done 15 years ago, and that's coming out of your hide. For those who are trying to take a little hide every time they write one of their, what'd you say, 24 articles in 4 years?
Yes, 24.
That's hunt and hide right there, folks. The complaint about the administrative expense. Now, you've been tasked with the job of cleaning up a mess, of taking care of maintenance on a mess that hadn't been done in years, but they're mad because you're having to use people to do it. And it takes administrative expense. That stuff just doesn't happen by, you're not, who's the girl on television who could twinkle her nose?
Bewitched, I don't know.
Bewitched. Yeah, you can't just twinkle your nose and make this happen. It takes bodies to make it happen. It takes bodies to not pay somebody to wash your linens and save money, but it takes bodies to do those type of things. What's your response to what I've said, and what other things you've heard about you spending too much money administratively?
Well, for every county department that provides a service, there is a fixed cost to do that business, even if that business does not generate money. And it's time for the citizens and the elected officials to think of the conference center as a county department, and we're just lucky that the city splits half the bill, so the county's not on the hook for the entirety of it.
So you don't have a fixed cost of operation?
I do have a fixed cost of operation, okay. And that's my if our salaried people and the building maintenance and operations were a fixed departmental cost for the county, and the city was dividing that number equally, almost every dollar that I got last year, except for $32,000 of the entire total of $366, was spent for my 4 salaried people, maintenance, and building operations. There was only $32,000 left of that $366 that went to anything else in the building. So if we were considered and thought of as a county department, that would be our cost to do business. But the difference is we generate significant revenue for that business, where some people just provide a service. If your road department provides a road, nobody says that's a loss. Your register that registers deeds, that's not a loss. We need to know whose properties is whose. But there's a fixed cost to have those departments.
Sure.
And there's a fixed cost to have a conference center in your community. And I'm pretty sure that every community that I have talked to says and acknowledges there's a fixed cost to that building and keeping administrative professionals in it, and there's a fixed cost to maintaining that building. And the communities that I've reached out to and spoken to, they've just said, this is the amount that we have, and that's what we spend on it. And when there's capital projects, we have to go back to the table and find the funds somewhere else. But they always make sure that their conference center in their community is taken care of because they understand the significance of it. Okay,
I've not really heard it put that way. I like that.
Yeah.
You're a smart girl. All right, I'm going to touch on one other thing right here before I move on. we go over there, numerous of us from Tullahoma go to the conference center for events and functions.
Right.
They're always done very professionally. They're always very nice. The food, the service is always good. Maybe except at the drink line. Sometimes I think you need a couple more drink vendors back there.
Absolutely.
The food is always good. It's always, of course, most of the time when we go to something like that, it's for somebody's fundraiser. So it's hard to tell whether in those events in that part of your business.
Right.
Are you breaking even in that part of your business?
Yes. Sometimes we are not generating as much profit as we'd like. But they always break even for those large fundraisers, and a majority of them have some sort of profit in there. But if we're giving discounts on room fees, you know, we start off with a labor loss right out the door. So we have to work extra hard to generate, to pick that up.
So a lot of times on those big events, these big events are for a nonprofit or for something. So you're discounting.
Right.
To start off with.
Because
discount.
Yeah, and for those nonprofits, in the past, this has always happened. Since 2007, you can see it clearly in the bookkeeping system where discounts were given. The theory behind that was that, you know, if we're asking an organization to pay $4,000 more for their event, then that takes $4,000 out of their money that they would normally contribute to Coffee County. And we only give those discounts to Coffee County organizations. We don't give them to anyone outside of our community.
No, of course not.
So
those other people in Murfreesboro aren't paying taxes on this
right,
building.
Exactly. So, you know, the theory behind that is that organization, especially these reputable, we have 31 nonprofits that I can think of and count on my calendar that do amazing things in our community, and they're able to do more because they didn't have to pay that extra money. And that's a philosophical question if you agree with that or not. That's something that our elected officials need to decide and either support or not. But that's the reasoning behind it for this entire time. Some of the fundraisers that come to our building generate 20%, half, or even more of their total funds they use for the entire year in one night.
Yeah, one night.
So,
sure.
You know, that was the premise behind not charging them full price.
Right, but again, instead of blaming you and your staff for this situation, it's one of those things, you know, like pay me now or pay me later.
Right.
You know, if we go out of business because you don't like this, then you'll have to pay full price somewhere.
Yes.
You know, it's just that simple.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. Your board, somebody needs to make a decision there on how palatable this can be and where it's palatable enough. And the truth needs to be told where everybody in the county understands what's going on,
right.
Not just what one side wants to know that's going on.
Yes.
Okay. My next sort of a big question, I guess, is I watched the building, and I have a buddy, Mike White, who graduated with me from high school, was one of the architectural people on that huge conference center that was built in Nashville. Looks like it has a big putting green on top of it.
And they're expanding now.
And they're expanding.
They're expanding.
Huge.
Yes.
Monstrous thing. I've been to the one down in Chattanooga that takes up blocks
yes.
down through there. Absolutely gorgeous. These places operate positively or without huge amounts of loss, because they're like you, they have economic impact to the community where whoever funded this thing in the beginning understands.
Yes.
How do they keep the wolf off their back? How is there any way, anything you can do with the Manchester Conference Center in getting grants or doing something to knock this debt service down?
Well, I've already gotten 3 grants for the conference center, and I have been applying for more. But you know, first, before I go after grant here and grant there and chase this straw here and chase that straw there, our community needs to come up with a vision, and they need to stick to that vision for the conference center and for the community at large to decide, you know, what are we going to chase after, and then we need to chase after those grants available. And you know, there's ways that we can make the conference center more profitable and less in the red. But unless we do things like, and enact a hospitality tax. One of my board members, Stan Teal, he went to a budget and finance meeting last year and said there's a way to eliminate the large portion of this monkey off of the county's back, to enact a county-wide hospitality tax that would, for every hotel room rented, there would be a designated percentage tax to that out-of-town person to fund the conference center. And that money from the hotel motel tax would go into a coffer in the county, and it would be distributed to the conference center when it needed money. And that would take the dialogue from being negative to positive. That's the way most communities generate the revenue to fund their conference centers, is through hotel motel tax.
Right.
They leverage bonds, especially like the $19 million renovation going on in Nashville. They don't have the money for that directly. They have the money in the Public Building Authority in Nashville. They have a surplus of money because they did a hospitality tax, and they get so much.
I met the guy that runs that place one time. I had a couple of meetings with him. You talk about if it's the same person, very, very bright man.
Right.
And they run that, and they also, their housing authorities and stuff are run through that.
Yeah.
And they have HUD money that they use to redo downtown businesses.
Yes.
And I mean, there's so much out there that vision will allow you to tap into.
Right.
But somebody's got to allow it to happen, don't they?
And most of the grants that have been awarded recently are for communities that have proven they're working together. They're multi-city or a city and a county and some other entity working together. Those are the grants that are being awarded right now. A single entity grant has less of the likelihood of making it to the table for a decision than the ones that are showing proof that they're working together and they're cohesive in their vision for their community, and it's something that's going to economically improve their community. You have to prove the numbers too.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just say we're going to build something and they're going to all come. You have to have proof in the pudding. But those communities are getting grants from the state, from the federal, and from private funders who say, I want to be part of your vision because I believe in what you're doing. And there are grants out there available, but we as a community have to decide on a vision and say this is what we're going to do, and we're going to support conference center, rec center, whatever those are, and then we're going to move forward with trying to find the funding to keep those vital and beautiful and alive and vibrant, and not just open and what you see is what you get inside, whether it's dirty ceiling tiles or dingy carpet or one door blocked off because we don't have the money to repair that door.
Right.
So, there's money out there, and I can chase after it. I've already been awarded grants, and I can go after any of the other ones, but I need a vision, and I need a direction.
You need support.
My PBA is very supportive, but the PBA cannot leverage everything. It needs to be a community that leverages the support. Every time I apply for a grant, I need a letter from the city and from the county. If not both of them, one or the other. Every single grant I've applied for so far has required that.
How many new seats were there in the county commission this year?
11.
So there are 11 brand new people there that have never been there before?
Correct.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's hope.
That is hope.
Yes.
That is hope.
Yeah.
So what do you need? What's the number one thing you need to, because I know you're smart. You impressed me the first time I was ever around you. I've seen you work.
Right.
You're very, very diligent and dogged in the way you work, not just mentally but physically as well. You jump in with your people. You're one of those folks who says, I'm not going to ask anybody to do something I won't do myself.
That's the mentality for the entire building.
You jump in with your people and you work just like they work. And I know I've seen it in their eyes that they respect you for that. I respect you for that.
Thank you.
I just think we need to do something to get whoever's on your back off your back and realize how good a job you're doing. They've got to make a decision one way or another. Are you going to keep this deal or are you going to get rid of it? Quit complaining about it.
Right.
It's sort of like I was at a board meeting up there and they were talking about a rock crusher in Hillsborough that they've deferred the decision on for 15 years. Make a decision. How can you defer a decision for 15 years? 4 different boards going through there and never make a decision on something.
Right.
You know, this is something that's too important to our community. Tullahoma right now, over here in our studio next door in the Markham building, there's been a room over there for years, the Legends Ballroom, that's been able to be used for Chamber of Commerce meetings. It's seat about 400. It's I don't think it's quite as big as your big room.
Right.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's being used for something else now. Where are you going to have a meeting, folks? You want to sit 100 people down. You want to sit 200 people down. You a factory owner, you a business owner, you a hospital. You want to bring something here to showcase you and your Tullahoma industry, your Tullahoma business. You want to have a huge sales meeting here. There's only one place you can do it. That's the Coffee County Conference Center. And when it's not there, where are you going to go? Who are you going to call? This is something that's too important to let die.
Right.
And we've got a beautiful young lady here who's fighting daily and smart enough to make it happen and can't get, in my opinion, it doesn't seem like that she can get the support to do the job she's capable of doing. And I don't want to put you in a, I'm speaking, she's not speaking, and y'all all know me enough to know I'm going to speak when I'm on, you know, but I just wish that there was, is there a list, is there some way, there a list of things that people can do to help you accomplish what you need to accomplish?
I mean, an organic way is to change the dialogue. When people say things, question, you know, where do you know that fact from? Where did you hear that? I mean, because if you only hear one side of the story or somebody regurgitates something, normally it's not true. But the second thing is when they go to conferences, there's a little line at the bottom of your questionnaire that says, you know, what could make this better? Is there a venue you know about? Put the conference center's website down, www.mccc4cs.com. I do it at every conference I go to. Even though I know some of them aren't going to come here, it gets us out there. And that's an organic way that people, without having to be verbal advocates, can let people know that we're here. Anytime they go away for something, we have conference center at home. Why don't you see about coming there? That's a way somebody can help. Changing the dialogue, you know, becoming informed and educated before you speak, I think that's important for life, you know, not just about the conference center. And then reaching out to the Public Building Authority or myself. I answer emails. You know, if you set up an appointment time, I take people on tours. I explain what we're doing. I explain all the things we've done to make the place better. But my board is instrumental in the changes that have happened. They are a working board. They are diligent, and they are full of questions. They want to know the answers, and they expect me to have the answers, and if not, I need to get them to them quickly.
Now, what weight does that board have when that board goes before the Coffee County Commission and requests something?
I don't know that they've ever.
Are they an appointed board?
They are an appointed board.
By whom?
2 from the city of Tullahoma, 2 from the city of Manchester, and then the county is another appointee. And you know, the people that are appointed need to believe in the conference center. You know, not have a hidden agenda. They don't have to believe in my management. They don't have. I can prove that over time. They need to believe in and know what the building is supposed to do for the community, and come in with an open mind so that they are prepared to learn and then develop their own thoughts from that, instead of coming in with an "I'll fix this."
Or something they read on Facebook and believe in everything that's put out there.
Right. Yeah. And you know, I can show them that I know how to do the job. They don't have to believe in me necessarily. They have to believe in what the conference center is built for, and the rest will come into play when they see what we do day in and day out, what we do with operations, what we do with marketing, all of the cost savings we do, the staff development that we have, and just the overall picture. We can show that to them over time, but they have to come in with a clean mind.
Okay. Now, you made a statement. We were talking earlier about you've been there for 4 years, which is 4 times 4 is 16 quarters.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, 16 quarters I've been there.
And you made you said something about how the quarters. How have you done in those 16 quarters?
So, if you only wanted to say, prove to me that you're doing better than before, besides your gross sales, which are on our audit and reported every month to the city and the county and to the PBA. Last year we were up 7% in sales, and the correlation to those quarters is, since I've been there, 14 quarters, 16 quarters?
16 quarters.
16 quarters. Only 4 of those quarters have been down in hotel motel tax revenue coming back to our community. So that shows every month and every quarter that we are doing more in sales and more in growth. And not only do our internal numbers prove that, but also the economic impact to our community is proving that by the sales tax dollars from hotel motel revenue being increased every time. So there's 4 quarters we were down over the last year, but every other quarter we were up versus the last year. We've been up in sales every single year since I've been there, while we've cleaned up 3, 5, and 13 audit violations consecutively. So we've not only been growing our business, we've been cleaning up those audit violations.
Cleaning up your business.
And cleaning up the building, and cleaning up the culture, and cleaning up the reputation, or attempting to clean up the reputation.
And paying for past maintenance.
Yeah.
Is there anything I can do for you? Or have we already done that?
I think that it's great that you want to know the truth, that you want facts. I think that's the most important thing here, is to ask the questions and to get the real answer, and that a spreadsheet or a profit and loss statement only can tell so much of a story. But there's a lot more at stake, and there's a lot more going on than that one piece of paper that's submitted to a budget and finance, or you know, it does mean that you have to get your hands dirty and figure out what's going on. But you know, the limits, I mean, our community is growing exponentially. The entire industries are looking at us, retail is looking at us, and you know, the sky's the limit on whether our conference center needs to expand to service more, and whether or not we need to, you know, I don't even know where I'm going with that. I just know that
you need somebody with a vision to help you with yours.
Yes, and a voice. That,
and a voice, a vision and a voice.
Yeah.
We need the 2 V's, vision and voice.
Yeah, our PBA has a voice, but I'm not sure that it's always heard. And, you know, we definitely need somebody that's listening. So.
Well, I appreciate you being here today.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
You've done a wonderful job, and I think, as I've said, you're a very bright, intelligent, young, hardworking young lady, and somebody needs to wake up to that fact and realize that you might not fight this battle forever, and it would be an absolute travesty if we lost you in the position you're in. So help us who want to help you fight the battle with you, and maybe we can win this thing, okay?
The other thing is I have an amazing staff behind me. You know, like I do a lot, but my staff is very skilled, and they're very dedicated like I am, and without that staff I wouldn't be able to do all of the things that I'm able to do. Yeah. So.
Rebecca French, thank you very much, dear.
Yes.
See you in your tutu and cowboy boots soon, okay?
All right, South Jackson.
South Jackson. All right, folks, this is Jon Gray signing off for Grassroots. Thank you for having us on your show with you, on our show with you today. We're in your parlor, as Tom would say, and share this information with your friends. We will put this up on our on-demand website. It will play numerous times on our channel, Charter Channel 193. I will send Rebecca a private link to this where she can share it with anybody she would like to. Our conference center is too important a thing to allow to go away for someone's personal gain. It belongs to all of us, and it's important to all of us. So support it every way you can, and search for the truth in what's being told to you, and ask questions. That's how we all become more important and educated citizens, voters, and friends to one another. And we thank you for sharing your time with us. We'll see you next time.